Hi, good morning. This is Fred Henning from Out of Box Wealth. Hope you're having a blessed day and you and your family are doing well and you're just enjoying another wonderful day, wonderful opportunity given to us to live our own personal, authentic life. And hope you're enjoying an awareness of energy and a consciousness of energy, consciousness of your own consciousness, and just the blessing that is given to us through understanding, through wisdom. In the Proverbs, King Solomon, King Shilamo, he told us to, in all of your getting, get wisdom and get understanding. And so having a true understanding of Gnothi Seyutan, know yourself, know who you are. And in knowing who you are, knowing what you are capable of, and even knowing what you are currently manifesting, what you are currently influencing in your own life. And it's just amazing when we have an understanding of energy. Some really, really cool things are made available to us. And in understanding our own energy and recognizing that, ourselves, knowing ourselves, that we are running almost exclusively. It's like 99.9999999% on our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind was pretty much wrapped up in programming fashion between the ages of 6 and 7. And so what happens is that we have an unconscious mind that has been programmed by a 6 or 7 year old. But the good news is that 6 or 7 year old is us. And we know who we are, and we know that 6 or 7 year old personally. And so what may look as something that is a problem at first, looking at it from our adult mind, when we look at it as something that may be a weakness or a hindrance, when we have the understanding of the way that we work, and we have the understanding of energy, and we realize that, hey, wait a minute, that was programmed or finished programming by our 6 or 7 year old self. And it started with some of our first conscious moments. And we recognize that that is our child self. And then we become aware of certain statements, like when Jesus said, unless you become like this child, like one of these little ones, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven. Oh, wait a minute. So when we recognize that what we are primarily doing and focusing on, and that what we are almost automatically doing in life, which produces our personal bioelectric field, our bioenergy field, which is affecting the world around us, which is affecting our life, which is affecting the lives of those around us. And we find out that that is pretty much operating on its own. And the rest is just things that we are consciously aware of, and pretty much, just in a conscious experience of recognizing what is around us. And sometimes, that can be a very, very fulfilling experience when we're having, some type of spiritual experience, an experience of enlightenment. Or other times, it may be a time of caution, maybe a time of protection. And so those decisions are small. And when we think of like a deer, for instance, when a deer is maybe in maybe Africa, where there are predators that are a lot more prevalent, or a lot more there in their environment than maybe here, deer in North America, which really we're their only predator, sorry to say, and please forgive us, deers. But what happens is that when a deer or any animal is in the situation where they're being chased, they're in fight or flight during the chase, and then when they are safe, they aren't in fight or flight anymore, and they don't walk away from that experience going, whoo, yeah, that was a close one, and they don't think about it over and over and over again. They recognize danger, they deal with it, and then they go back to their other consciousness. They go back to feeding, they go back to resting, they just go back to being aware of what is around them. But we don't do that. When we have things that are extreme, we tend to rehearse them. We tend to go over them again and again and again and again. And if we're not careful, they can take over. And if they can be associated with an early childhood memory, it can be overwhelming. And that's when people experience stress and irrational stress, when they experience irrational fears, things that in their mind are happening, but in reality and in their conscious experience are not happening. And this causes a lot of problems, causes different types of dis-ease in our body, and dis-ease in our soul, in our mind, in our psyche. And so what happens is, with this, which is called cognitive dissonance, it just causes problems that we need to deal with. And we can deal with them, because when we recognize that it's all energy and that we are energetic beings and we are the programmers, and when we recognize that our primary program, the one that is controlling almost everything, was done by us or finished by us at the age of 6 or 7. So what happens? Well, to get back to the programming, we return to our childlike self. And what happens when you return to your childlike self? Well, you become less stressful, you become less worried, you become less in the state of thinking of what could go wrong and thinking of what fear could manifest and fearing what fear and fearing what situation could manifest. You return to a childlike, playful state and become more playful. And when we are playful, we don't have an awareness of those types of things, because in the spirit or in the energy of play, there isn't danger. And when there isn't danger, we feel happy, we feel joy, we feel the restorative energies that can restore us back to the place where the intentional programming was intended for. So in other words, when we were 6 or 7, we weren't thinking about, boy, I'm going to create this program to deal with stress, because who knows what's going to happen in the economy, and who knows what bills I'm going to have to pay, and who knows how I'm going to have to wake up early in the morning without having enough sleep. There was none of that. Back then, we lived in a playful, imaginary world where there wasn't any of the adult worries. And so what may seem at first glance to be something that's a little less than optimal to an adult, actually turns out to be our own salvation. And the ability to return back to a childlike state is the key to entering the kingdom of heaven. Well, what's the kingdom of heaven without looking at it in a denominational or any type of necessarily limited to a religious traditional belief? When we think of the kingdom of heaven, we think of the source, and the source of everything. And another cool thing about science, science has confirmed that at one point, everything material was connected together in one point in time, in one space. And so at one point in time, everything that we see out here, everything that is manifested around us, was connected. It was connected at one point in time, and then there was an extreme release of energy, and everything was dispersed, it was released, and now it's what we are currently seeing as the 3% manifested realm. But the place where that all came from is the 97% realm. It's bigger. The unseen is bigger than the seen. And a couple of different things there. First of all, for anybody who may have any type of understanding or influence about, hey, this all just kind of came together. It's an accident. Humans are an accident. Life is an accident. Everything just exploded and then just happened to come together, by chance, by accident. And, it doesn't really mean anything. There's no intelligence behind it. Well, one example that I think really explains it very well is, just imagine you go down to a junkyard and you take dynamite and, or C4, whatever you like to explode things with, your explosive material of preference, and you take that and you go to a refrigerator that's sitting there in the junkyard, and you pack it full of your preferred explosive, and you pack the refrigerator full, and you get to a safe distance, and you blow up the refrigerator. Um, so, what's going to happen after that? After you explode and blow up that refrigerator, is it going to come back? Is it going to put itself back together? Is there ever going to be, some situation where that refrigerator is entirely remantled after you have dismantled and probably disintegrated a lot of the parts? Well, I guess in probability theory, there is just the smallest chance over who knows how many millions upon billions, if not trillions of years. So in other words, that's not going to happen. It doesn't just happen by chance. It needs a reorganization force. It needs a mind. It needs a mind of organization to put it back together. And it's the great thing about the most wonderful minds of history, especially people who maybe were not believers, so to speak, and they started to really look at reality, and then they recognized, listen, there is without a doubt an organized mind, that there is without a doubt a being that is behind the construction of everything that we see in the material realm. It's not coincidence. It's not an accident. Everything has been put together in order and purpose. And so that order and that purpose, however you choose to identify it, however you can comfortably identify it right now, I believe that that order is God, that that order is Yahweh, that that order is loving parent, loving creator, mother and father, father and mother, creating children together in a beautiful family of unconditional love and forgiveness. And for you, whatever you can come to a term with, whatever you feel comfortable with, nature, divinity, divine source, the matrix, the mind of God, whatever you're comfortable with, when you recognize that there is in fact that spirit source there, and that that spirit source or that creative source is available to everyone, we can begin to recognize and put all these pieces together. We can come into a connection with our child self. And when we come into a connection with our child self, we can have a connection with the architect, with the programmer of our own current reality, and in a loving, happy, joyful, childlike, playful way, if there needs to be any type of reprogramming, we can reprogram. And it's a wonderful thing to think of. It's a wonderful thing to experience. And the application of these subtle energies becomes powerful because we begin to recognize who we are, and we begin to remember who we are. Because remember, we have a whole library, an encoded encyclopedia, actually a library of history of mankind recorded in our own DNA. And all of that information is activated by codes. It's activated by symbols. And if you need a little bit of guidance to uncover the world of symbols or symbology or sacred geometry, and there's wonderful, powerful understanding and wisdom teaching called sacred biogeometry, and very powerful. Something that was recently discovered was, you may remember, or you may have heard, that when they started opening the tombs in Egypt, there were a lot of mysterious deaths. And they found written in the hieroglyphics warnings, don't enter here, don't come in here. and and they did it anyway. They entered there, and uh, a lot of the people, a lot of the scientists, a lot of the archaeologists, a lot of the people who were involved did in fact get mysteriously ill and die. And so why? And they thought, well, maybe this is some germ, and maybe this is some old type of virus, and a whole bunch of other things. And they recently discovered, a French research team discovered, it was subtle energies that were created by symbols, and specifically something that's called negative green. And negative green, which is actually a gray, it's actually a gray energy, is very, very toxic to our human bioelectric field. The bioelectric field is what causes everything to happen in our body, whether it be, body or organ functions, or the digestion of food, the movement of muscles. All of this is, giving us life and causing life. And they found out that, that these bioelectric symbols, or biogeometric symbols, were in fact what was causing, these unfortunate events to happen. And so we find out that symbolism, symbology, that language that we are speaking to ourselves and that we are picking up and that we are aware of without even knowing that we're aware of it, is in fact very, very powerful. And when we find that out, we find ourselves having the opportunity to take that programming and take that symbology and to apply it to ourselves for our own authentic self, to have the freedom of expression and ascension, and to experience our own best experience in our own best life. And that's all available to you. All the information is out there. It's at your fingertips. Everything is just a Google away today, and it's all there for you. So strongly encourage you to walk on your own path, to follow your own tuition, to go in your own way, to go where you find yourself being led, to give yourself every opportunity to experience your own best self. And that is your birthright. That is why you are here, to experience your own best experience in the process of ascension and becoming a higher being. And one tool that can help you in that is a really, really amazing tool, Hooponopono. If you've never heard of it before, it's a Polynesian method, and it's a method for assisting yourself in becoming clean and clear. Well, clean and clear of what? Clean and clear of anything that would be hindering you. Clean and clear of anything that would be causing any type of blockage, that would be any type of barrier between you and your own best good. And very, very effective when you look into it and you find out, the amazing things that have been accomplished. Probably foremost is the testimony of Dr. Hu Len, a Hawaiian doctor who first came on the radar, so to speak, when he took a job in it was a psych ward, basically a mental prison. It was a place where prisoners who were very, very dangerous, who had serious, serious psychological problems. Many were shackled to a wall. They were that dangerous. And he came to this psychiatric prison hospital, and what he did, and he came there because they had to have a doctor on board. They had to have a doctor on staff, because if they didn't, they would lose their funding. And so he agreed. But one of the terms in his agreement was that he wouldn't see any patients. He would just stay in his office, and he would do his work from his office. So here's a doctor who didn't have any contact with any of the patients physically, but what he would do is when he would be in his office, he would go through the files of each one of the patients, and he would practice what is called Ho'oponopono, which means to make right. That's what Ho'oponopono means. It means to make right. So to take some form of wrong and make it right. And what Ho'oponopono is repeating 5 phrases. The 5 phrases are: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I forgives myself. So that's I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I loves myself. And yes, it is I loves myself. And or also, well, actually, that's a variation of it. It actually is I forgives myself. And the idea of having I forgives myself is from the viewpoint of the divine. And from the divine, again, being that source of order and that connection, as ancient traditions teach, that we are all crowned in Yah, that even what people may think as, the worst uh, beings in their current physical example, they are all still crowned in Yah. They are all still crowned by the Creator. They are all still connected to Source. And so the understanding that it is Source itself that is speaking as the I, speaking as I forgives myself. And they're very, very powerful statements, again, in the area of energy and in the realm of energetic expression, in the realm of energy release, in the realm of speaking out energy over ourselves and over others. Those statements give us the ability to become clean and clear. And when we do that for ourselves, the energy that we send out is clean, clear energy, creative energy. And what does that energy do? That energy makes available the possibility for us as humanity restoring our earth once again to the original garden paradise that it was created as in the beginning and intended for the children of the Creator to experience. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be wonderful if humanity all came to the place of agreement where that is what we want, that is what we desire? We do truly desire our home, our Mother Earth, to be restored to the original garden paradise that she was in the beginning when all order created this home for us. And it is possible, it is probable, it is available to us as humankind to be able to choose and create for ourselves. So when you begin to practice Ho'oponopono and you do it in a childlike manner and you release yourself from any type of maybe religious tradition. I know some people can be really, really overwhelmed by guilt with the statement of please forgive me. And when you say please forgive me, it's more broad than just your experience in memory. It's a statement that you give yourself from your experience of being and your experience of who you are, and also from your understanding of innocence. Because when you look at all the wrong that you may be, not forgiving yourself for, when you look at all that you may not be, loving yourself for, if you could create a reality for yourself where you never made those mistakes, would you do it? Well, of course. And so that is the understanding of your own personal innocence, not an understanding of, humanity as a terrible, wretched, awful race of beings that deserve to be destroyed, that deserve to be punished, to the point that the Creator, in fact, did create a realm called hell, where the Creator is going to punish all bad people, not only for, it's not just a time out, it's eternal punishment of the worst degree of torture and torment. That is a creation, that is a fabrication of a being that was not the loving Creator, but a being that sole purpose was to enslave other beings and use their energy for its purpose. And you find out that these type of beings don't have bodies, they don't have the ability, they don't have power. They need the power of others. It's the being of a parasite. It is a parasitic being that can only exist by feeding off of others. And when you recognize that, and when you realize that, and you see that that is the influence that was blocking you, that was lying to you, that was stealing from you, that was robbing you of your own best good and your own best experience, your own true God-given right, your own true God-given inheritance as a child of God. When you recognize that and you return back to your childhood self, you return back to that 6 or 7 year old, when you return back to that joyful experience of loving yourself, of having gratitude for yourself, you actually return back to a place of power, a place of true power, true authority, and true ability to be able to speak into your own reality, your own highest good, and your own highest existence, and join together with the rest of us who truly lovingly have made the decision that we are going to restore our world back to the original garden paradise that it was originally created as. And it's going to be a parasite-free paradise without any influence that is not true and that is parasitic and that seeks to control and to feed off innocent children of the Most High. Ganothi Seutan, love, peace, blessing, shalom, abundance, prosperity to you and your family, unconditionally, lovingly. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love myself. I forgives myself. Namaste.